Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the iStead Spotlight Streaming Studio. Today we are talking about all things audio. So without further ado, please welcome your host for today, Neil Sayer!
Oh, so close, so close, so close. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Spotlight Studio, Streaming Studio, Coventry. Thank you for joining us. This is our first Spotlight On seminar. We've got lots of stuff to show you. It's going to be a very quick beginner's guide overview to event audio. So firstly, who are we? So my name's Neil. We're iStead Audiovisual. We are an audiovisual production company. We're normally out on the road delivering technical support at conferences and events. Obviously, that's a bit of a snag at the moment. So we have this fantastic facility here in Coventry. We've got some great knowledge. We've got some great technical people here. So let's give a little bit back. That's the least we can do. So today we're going to start with sound audio, same term, just different terminology. So sound audio. So event sound, we're going to talk about what is a PA system. I've got some equipment to show you here about a PA system. What's a mixing desk or a mixing board, audio desk? They're called very similar things. So a mixing desk. What's an amplifier? Different types of microphones, different types of speakers. There are many, many different varieties. All the elements that take up, that sort out what is a PA system. And feedback, not about how amazing I'm doing today. Yeah, okay. Feedback is those squirrely squeals that you hear at an event. That's really quite a big challenge for us as our sound guys and audiovisual guys. But I'll talk you through what feedback is, and you might understand a bit how maybe you can get rid of feedback in your own environment if you ever use some sound systems. So we won't make you an expert here at all. It's purely an overview, and if you're a techie guy watching it already, you'll know all this already. But if you have a little understanding, maybe you're an event professional, you deliver events, you have an AV team, you're not quite sure what the sound guys do, hopefully the next half an hour, 40 minutes will just guide you through some of that. So let's crack on with it. So thank you for joining us. Drop us some comments. If I can't answer questions as we're going, because I've got a lot to get through, we'll get through after the show. We'll answer your comments. And if you're joining us on YouTube after the event, which is great because we're putting all this on YouTube afterwards. So without further ado, let's shine the spotlight on event audio. Okay, so what is a PA system? So in its crudest form, a PA system is microphones, they go into a mixer that then go through an amplifier into your speakers, and that is your sound system. So I've got lots of equipment here just to show you through how it all works. So this is a crudest form PA system. So we have a microphone. Microphone goes into a mixing desk, which is this here. So this is an analog mixing desk. It modifies the sound of your voice. So I'll explain that in just a short while. So this is an analog mixing desk. The microphone goes into it. You modify the sound to how you like it to be, with maybe some effects and some additional things on there. And then it goes into an amplifier that makes the sound loud, and it goes through your speakers so your audience can hear it. So that is a crude version of a PA system. It could be a lot bigger when you have lots more people in the room, etc., etc. But the fundamentals are there. A microphone through your mixer, through to an amplifier, to some speakers. So the first one here is an analog mixer. So this is a mixer that has different channels that go into the mixer. And this is a 12-channel mixer because there are 12 inputs into the mixer. And an input could be a microphone, it could be a guitar, it could be a keyboard, it could be laptop sound or a DVD player. It's a channel into the mixer. And as you put your microphone in, you have adjustments on here that adjust the way your voice works. So as an example, on every mixer, even an analog mixer, you can change the pitch and the tone of your voice. So as I'm standing here now, you probably can hear me really well, but with an analog mixer, you can adjust the treble, the top part of your voice. So if I'm talking now, and we mix the sound a little bit different, we can modify the way my voice hears by making it a little bit more tinny, a little bit toppy at the top. On top of that, you can also adjust the middle range. So the middle range of my voice, we can adjust that as well. So that's probably changing as you can hear now. And then we can also change the bottom end, the bass part of my voice. we can modify that. So although I'm talking the same, I hope through that you can hear the top change, the middle change, the bottom. That's purely so the channel of the mixer, where our microphone goes in, we can modify how that sound works. And the reason we do that is for every environment, every venue we go to, different acoustics. So if you're in a really echoey, barren sports hall, when you have a lot of tinny sound, it can just rattle around. So you might put a little bit of the bottom end of your voice in, take away some of the top. And likewise, if you're in a real damp, sort of real solid room, you might put a bit more top end in your voice to make it sound a bit more clarity in a different scenario. So the audio mixer allows you to modify the voice and the channel you put in there. Just to show you, so this was the original channel I've showed you there. So this is one channel in our mixer. But this is a 12-channel mixing desk because there are 12 inputs. Other add-ons you can have for your voice. So an analog mixer has limited functionality. It's quite an old bit of kit as well. If you were to hire a analog or a PA system from us and you were operating yourself, we'd probably give you an analog mixer because it's quite a simple thing to use. I think if I had 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes with you, I could very quickly show you how an analog mixer works and you can understand how the PA system works. Other effects you can have on your voice, but you would need an additional add-on box of tricks. So if I was a performer, maybe I'm a singer in a band, have a thing called reverb on my voice. So reverb makes a singer sound a little bit bigger. So if we just put a bit of reverb on my voice now, what you'll hear is I'm now probably sounding into quite a big cave, but it makes my voice sound really quite loud in a much bigger and bolder than it is just off a normal setting on a microphone. So that's reverb. What you can also have is some delay. I won't go into why you need a delay, but you can put an effect on your voice that is a delay. So as I'm talking now, I'm hoping you can hear that there is a delay in my voice. Now that's quite upsetting, it's quite hard to understand that, but let's turn that off. But it just shows you that you can modify a presenter's voice with the right equipment. Now with those effects, reverb and delay, you would need an extra box of kit to go with your analog mixer. So it's quite crude. It does the job, but you need extra functionality, which is more kit. So in the olden days, we would have had half a van load of kit just for the mixer, the amplifier, and then you'd have a reverb kit, you'd have a delay kit, lots and lots and lots of kit added onto your analog mixer. It's different nowadays, it's far different. So now we have digital mixers. So digital mixers are the new version of the analog equipment, and they have a built-in computer in them. So they, as you can see on the picture there, they have a little screen and you can see how the computer's working inside there. Now our techie guys, our sound guys, it's the equipment of choice. If you have an AV company who support your event, they'll all have digital mixers because they are very, very clever. A lot more functionality with a digital mixer. Same idea though, you still put your microphone in to a mixer, it goes into an amplifier, into the speakers. But the functionality on a digital mixer is very clever. So this is a digital mixer we have here. This is a 24-channel mixer. So there are 24 channels in the back of there, so we have control over 24. What a digital mixer allows you to do as well is there are different pages of more inputs. So I click a button and we have another page of 24, another page of 24. A very small box of tricks on the back of that to make more inputs. But all of a sudden, you can have treble what you're looking at there, even on the same desk. But what you also might find is if you're running an event and you see your sound man in the audience or roaming around with his iPad, what on earth is he doing? Is he playing Roblox or something? Hopefully not. But what the iPad allows you to do is you can control the digital mixer from anywhere in the room. It's basically your remote control. So if I show you here, I've got full control over my mixer with, me fat fingers, here we go. That's it, as you can see. So that's me controlling there, completely wirelessly, each individual there. So I can be in the room, I can be listening from the preferred position in the room, and I can just roam around and get in the acoustics exactly right. So the iPad now, at every event we would do, you'd have an iPad and a digital mixer. And again, great for us as the experts, but if you were to use a sound system of this ilk, we probably wouldn't give you a digital mixer because they can be quite complex. So that's a digital mixer, definitely the preferred choice at the moment. So after we've got our microphone into our mixer, be it an analog mixer or a digital mixer, We modify the sound through the mixer, as I've explained, with the top, bottom, put some effects on if you wish. You've modified the sound, then you need to put it into an amplifier. So we've got an amplifier here in our rack system here. So we have our mixer here, and we've chosen to put in there an amplifier in the kit because this always goes out on the road together. And an amplifier is crude as the sound goes in, you amplify the sound, it makes the sound louder, and it sends the sound to your speakers so people can hear it. And again, just as an example here, so our analog kit here, we've chosen to put another bit of kit in as another equalizer that modifies the sound again. We've chosen to put that in because it's quite a good thing to have in addition, because it's got limited functionality, your analog mixer. So add on, but you always need an amplifier to make your sound big and bolder. Another example could be, so this is a kit that is a mixer, as you can see, but it's also got in it an amplifier is built into it, and that's a heavy bit of kit, and amplifiers are massively heavy. So that is a compact, he's saying, hardly lifting it. That is a analog mixer, but it's got a built-in amplifier. So you can get them complete as one. We tend to have them separate because different shows have, so this system here could probably amplify up to 4 speakers, an audience of 200 people, let's say. Because we have bigger audiences, we might have several amps. If we did a show that had 20 speakers on it, we might have a rack of 5 or 6 amplifiers, and those amplifiers are controlling speakers in different areas of the ceiling or different areas of the room. So we've got full control over that amplifier to control those speakers, another amplifier to control other speakers. But it's all through the mixer, to your amplifiers, to your speakers. So I think I've got a quick slide of an amplifier. And again, amplifiers are what they are. You can spend a lot of money on them. There's new digital amplifiers that are clever as well, but they do generally way less than a heavy amplifier, as I've shown with a unit there. So that's your mixers, modify the sound into your amplifiers. The next thing would be microphones. So an array of microphones. So the choice would really be radio microphones. Everybody uses radio microphones, but there are wired mics as well, which have their place. So radio microphones are great because it allows us to roam around the room. So I'm on a wired mic, I'm on a radio mic. I've got a lapel mic on here, and I've got a little transmitter pack in my packet, but it allows me to wander around anywhere I like. Now, it works on a radio signal. Now, radio signals are fine 99.9% of the time. If you're in the middle of London, there's lots of radios flying around that you might not know about. Now, we, as a production company, have the license to use a variety of frequencies, so we rarely get problems, but you might have a couple of radio mics in your kit, but you can be very careful and often get a little bit of interference from things that you just don't know are there. So wired mics have their place. So as an example, we've got a lectern mic here. So if we were doing a corporate event and there's a lectern, all the keynote presenters are at the lectern, we'd have a wired mic. And we attach to the lectern, it's on a wire. Wires generally do not fail. They sit there all day long and they work. Why put a radio in the way? Because there could be that little possibility of it not working. So that's a wired mic, that's a lectern mic. Alternatively, we've got, maybe have a top table. So a top table mic, similar idea to the lectern mic. They have slightly different characteristics. I'll explain a little bit how they work in just a second. But that's a wired mic again. So we had a top table of an AGM for maybe 30 people, or maybe 13 people, 12, 13. We would put lots of wired mics on the desk because wire always works. But as I say, the microphone of choice is predominantly a radio mic. So with our radio mics here, I'll show you the lapel mic. So I've got a lapel mic on now. This is a lapel mic. So it's got a little head on it that you attach to your lapel or your tie, just somewhere in view there. And you've got a transmitter pack that sits in your pack, out the way, on your belt. And that transmits the signal across the radio waves to a receiver box, which is that. And that receiver then box goes into your mixer, simple as that. So that's your receiver that sits by your mixer, and we transmit over the radio frequencies our lapel mic. But there are a few options of lapel mics here, or different radio mics. So that is a lapel mic. We've got the trusty handheld. Do that in rehearsal, look at that, check that out. Handheld mic, great for getting lots of volume out of your microphone. So there's all about, I'll just explain this to you. So this is how these microphones work. They have a pickup pattern, how the sound gets into your voice. If I just show you this quick chart, I won't bombard you with science here, but this shows you a pickup pattern per microphone, and all microphones have different personalities. So you've got to have a little understanding about what your microphones do that help you understand how this works. So back to me here with my handheld microphone. Okay, my microphone has a pickup pattern, as per the chart there, of about a football's worth across the top of that head, okay? So I know if I'm a host, I talk into that pickup pattern there, I'll be heard really well. Great for hosts and comedians, they understand how they work, and if I'm a host on stage, perfect. I'm very close to my mouth, I get lots and lots of volume into the room, perfect. What we do find is, though, that when we have Q&A session in a conference, for example, we might have 2 or 3 handhelds for the Q&A. Some people just don't understand how that works, so we've seen people hold it there. Now, the pickup pattern will not get to my voice, it's really quiet, or they've got it on the desk. I've even seen people using it on a telephone. Hello, I've got a question. Well, what are you doing? You need to talk to the top of the microphone. So that is the pickup pattern for this particular microphone. Great for getting lots of level. Now, a lapel mic, they are designed to have a big, big pickup pattern. Because it's a long way from your mouth, respective to as in the handheld, there's a big pickup pattern, size of a beach ball really, and it's picking up everything around me. Now that's great for a corporate event, let's say, when you're in a studio setting, because it's nice and quiet. If you've got a corporate, even if it's 100 people in the room, 1,000 people in the room, as long as they're quiet and they can hear, the pickup of this will be superb, no problem at all. If you have a busy environment, maybe a gala dinner or an awards evening where there's lots of people getting drunk and there's lots of noise, you'd really struggle to get volume out of a lapel mic, because the pickup pattern is picking up lots and lots of things around you, not just where your mouth is. So it picks up all that noise, which really makes you struggle to get the volume into the room. So a little add-on, rather than having a lapel mic, you could have a discrete headset mic. So with your transmitter pack, but you've now got a headset on. So this headset here, it's a discrete headset, as you can see, with my big nose, hey? Madonna mic, let's call it Madonna mic. People do, can I have a Madonna mic, please? And it's because Madonna was running around the stage back in the 80s, 90s. She's running around, lots of noise around her. It's right by her mouth to amplify that sound into the stadium. Now, this is great for demonstrations. If you want to just do, maybe you're outside, there's a lot of wind. These are great right by you. They're great because it's so much closer to your mouth. And again, the pickup pattern on here, like a tennis ball shape, it's very close to your mouth. You get that audio into the discrete headset mic. They have their place, but what we find is some people are a bit nervous about wearing them. They think it's going to mess up their hair. And we understand that. So, there's often a discussion about preferred microphones that people use. But there's a bit of guidance from us as well, because different environments have different scenarios. So they're the different type of microphones. They're all the radio mics that transmit to the receiver. The receiver goes into the mixer modifies the sound, we then amplify it, and then we go out into the speakers into the room. Just an example of radio mic use. So these are a few people we've worked with this year, last year, sorry. Vernon Kay, his preferred microphone was a handheld microphone. So he wanted a handheld, no problem at all. So that was a gala dinner, an awards evening. He wanted a handheld, he wanted to run around, he did a little sketch and some comedy stuff. Then he presented the awards with a handheld, and that's his preferred choice. And again, he knows how to use it. He's got it right into his mouth, talking into that pickup area in a big audience of 600 people at a gala dinner, no problems at all. Stephen Mangan, he was brilliant as well, and he didn't want to have anything in his hands. He wanted to be at the lectern, so we chose the right lectern microphone with the right pickup pattern, so we knew what was good for us and our environment. He was super. He didn't want to have a headset. He doesn't want a handheld. He wanted a lectern mic. No problem at all. Bottom left there was a summit we did last year in Heathrow, it was, and there was this lady here you can't see, which would probably answer the question, is that she is wearing a discrete headset mic. You can hardly see that on the photo because it is discrete. Now, this was a session where 1,000 people in the audience. We had the speaker placed at some good positions in the room, so speaker placement wasn't a problem, which I'll come to in a second. The audience were attentive, there wasn't a lot of hubbub in the room, so they could have had a lapel mic, but there was a lot of comfy seated sessions. And what we find is that if you have a comfy seated session, people generally talk that little bit quieter than they do if I'm on stage. So if I'm on stage now presenting as I am, I'm talking to you so you can hear me. If we were sitting having a chat, you generally talk that little bit quieter, and you just got to make sure that people can hear in the room. So to have a discrete headset that you can't really see, it just amplifies that into the room, is a lot better for everybody, really. So, and they were more than happy with it. And we sort of forced it on them at times to say, because of the environment, we'd really like to have a headset microphone. And lastly, Matthew Saeed, absolutely brilliant. He's one of the best presenters we've worked with. He has this thing about out-the-box thinking. Yeah, I've met a lot of people with a lot of presenters, and he's probably top 3, I would say. Such a nice guy. The audience was 400 people in Edinburgh. He had their attention. He was absolutely brilliant. But again, his microphone of choice was a lapel mic, so we put a lapel mic on him. That's what we wanted. Again, an attentive audience, corporate people, they were sitting there listening. Absolutely fine. So there's your microphones. There's the different types of microphones for different scenarios. I think if you own microphones, try and get an understanding of what that pickup pattern is. Handheld close to your mouth. Lapel mics are great and subtle, but you need a little bit more clever to, not cause that feedback. I'm rushing. Lots of people on Facebook, thank you. And some questions, we'll try and get them if we can. Andrew Page, thank you for your comments. Somebody wants me to sing. Neil, I won't be singing, but thank you very much. Anyway, let's go on to speakers. So, speakers are lots of different speakers, and they all have their own little personalities. We know how our system works, so I'll quickly show you how some of this works. So there are 3 main speakers, I would say, in the world, in our world of events industry. So we've got a full range speaker. So this here is a typical full range speaker. And a full range speaker means it gives you the audio for my whole voice, everything you can hear fine, along with a bit of bass as well. So if you play music through, you'd hear all the music, you'd hear everything quite happily. But they have their limitations at a time. So if we were to be playing some real powerful music for an opening sequence or a big gala dinner with award stings, award music, you need a little bit more oomph in your speaker. And these don't have a lot of oomph. They're great to position around the room, but they don't have that real oomph at the bottom. So we have a thing called a bass bin, a subwoofer. I'm sure you've seen them before. This is a big, big box, heavy as you like, and this gives us all the oomph. So as you hear the boy racer going past your bedroom at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's because he's got a bass bin in his boot. Why he's got that, I've got no idea, but that's what you're hearing. So as an example now, so if we play some music through the bass bin, the subwoofer, you won't hear the tune, all you will hear is the boom, boom, boom. So I don't know if you can hear that at home, but I'm currently shaking on this stage. So, so this stage is now rattling. I can feel it in my bones. And all I'm hearing is that boom, 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 boom. And when you put a subwoofer into your PA system with your full range speakers, it gives you a great sound for award music. You might also use it for, if you have a band, a bass guitar, you hear that low end bass. So that is a bass bin that you'd add to. So we do an event for Brad Burton, I think some of you might know. He's awful music, he's shocking, it really is. But if we went on site without a subwoofer, it would blow our speakers because he likes that boom, boom, boom at the bottom. The last speaker is a monitor, a wedge. So there's one here on the stage here. So a monitor stroke wedge. It's a wedge because it's wedge shape. So as I'm standing on the stage here talking, the speakers are placed in the room away from where I am. So as I'm on the stage, I actually can't hear my voice, and it can be a little bit disconcerting. So if I'm a performer, what a performer would like to hear maybe is a backing track. So you will hear it as the audience, but because I'm the wrong side of the speakers, I need to hear the backing track. So we would put the backing track through a monitor speaker for me as a performer to hear it. We also might put a monitor speaker on if we've got a conference with Q&A sessions. So we've got lots of questions in the audience. You can hear those questions fine because you're the right side of the speakers. On the stage, without a monitor speaker, you'd probably struggle to hear those questions. So we have a monitor speaker, so the people on the top table or people on stage, we put the microphones through that speaker so we can clearly hear what's happening in the room. So that's a monitor foldback speaker, more so for bands, but they do have their place on corporate events just to hear what's happening in the room back at us. And these speakers all have different personalities. So here's a chart just to show you here. So we know how our speakers throw the sound into the room. So with a few diagrams, we can position where they're going to go in relation to our audience. So if we can hang our speakers in the ceiling, we can direct the sound onto a large area of the audience really well. Now, we don't have that luxury all the time. We have to put our speakers along the side of the rooms. But the way we understand how our speakers work, we can plot the room before we get there. So an example would be, if you can see this slide here, we have a bit of software that allows us to create a throw pattern of our speaker. So this particular sort of triangular shape you can see on this slide here is the throw pattern of the sound. So if I go to a speaker here, as an example would be, we know that we've got 70 degrees out of this speaker into the audience. So 70 degrees spread, and we know that sound will go approximately 20 meters into the room. And that creates this sort of triangular shape of sound. So what we do is we get the information of the room. We would have probably done a site visit on site to understand the space in the room, how many people will be in the room and where the audience will be sitting. We've got to make sure that our sound system is going to cover everybody in that room. So with that one pattern that we used, you can see here we've got there's lots going on this slide, but what you're seeing is all those triangular shapes is the throw pattern per speaker to ensure that everybody in that room can hear in that room clearly. So we had about, I think there's 20 speakers in this venue for this event. There was probably 500-600 people at Westminster Park Plaza it was. We plotted this before we got on site. We were lucky to have ceiling rigging in the ceiling, so we could mount our speakers in the ceiling. We knew where the pattern would, where our speakers positioned, where they would throw, and we plotted it to make sure every area of that room was covered by a speaker so they could hear all the presentations. We've got ceiling speakers, the full range. We've got some subs as well as some subwoofers, as I've showed, to give a bit of oomph because there was an award sequence. We've got monitor speakers on the stage so that people on stage could hear the Q&A. We also had some smaller speakers like these smaller ones here. Again, they are full range, but they're not as meaty as the other ones. So we might have them at the front of the stage just for the front row of people, because they might just be missing some of the speakers that are in the ceiling. So we put some at the front fill, just to fill that area. But it just proves we don't just rock up and got a bit of equipment and a few speakers and position them around. We've plotted it before we go on site. Now that's a big, big job. If you have a sound system and you've got a sound system for 100 people, it's worth you having an understanding of how your speakers throw, to understand if you have a speaker that's that. If you've got your own speakers, just have a little go and listen. If you're off to the side of it, can you hear it? Understand where they throw, understand the microphones that you're going to use. Hopefully you'll fill your room with sound. So that was the example of how we plotted this event, and this is the event as it was on site. So this was an event last year at Westminster Park Plaza. We put ceiling truss in the ceiling, and we scattered our speakers in the ceiling. Lots of different areas of truss, again with our pattern, and we knew where the pattern was going to throw. This is a little glimpse of the tech area. So we have our digital mixer that I've explained. We have our iPad that's being a remote control. So our sound man was walking around in the audience with his iPad controlling the digital mixer. We've also got radio mics behind the scenes there, and all our amplifiers, a rack of probably eight amplifiers behind the scenes, one amplifier doing one area, one amplifier doing the other, and we've got full control of all that from our digital mixer. A couple more shots of that as well, so you can see it there. You've got in the top left picture there, our ceiling speakers. There was gaps in the side where they couldn't quite hear. We knew because we plotted it. We put some speakers on the side wall as well. And we had an extra line of truss towards the back of the room to make sure the people at the back could obviously hear as well. So because they had a 20-meter throw and the room was about 30, 35 meters deep, obviously needed another set of speakers further on. So that's how a bigger sound system would work, but we plot it before we get on site. But you need to know how big your audience is and how big your room is. Last option of speakers, these are called line array. Now these are predominantly for bigger venues, stadiums, festivals. They have their place. We don't generally use them because we're sort of in the middle market doing sort of 400 or 500 people. If you went to 1,500 people or more, you'd probably have some line arrays in a bigger venue like arenas and stuff. So again, they have their throw pattern. So as you can see from the slide, the top speaker is programmed to shoot in a particular area. The next one down does the next area, and so forth and so on and so forth. So there's an array of speakers that fill, and they're programmed to send the sound out to a particular area. Here's an example of it. Now this isn't our show at all. This is purely off the web. Gives you an idea of, we see this stuff because we're all techies. So this is a Take That concert. I don't know if you can see where the line arrays are. So there are 4 line array systems there. And again, they are there's probably 30,000 people in that area there. So there is a line of speakers that are all programmed to send the sound off to a particular area of that stadium. And as you can see, the far one will be doing the far area, and they curve around to the people a bit nearer the stage. You'll be hearing that sound from those speakers. There's probably additional speakers at the very front as well, for in case you're not quite getting that curve of sound. If you're the wrong side of it, it'll be quiet. And what the Take That guys would have, they would have monitor speakers on the stage, because they're the wrong side of the speakers. They can't hear their music, so they have monitors like that, or they might have in-ear monitors, we call them. They clip into your ear. I'm sure you've seen them. And they literally, in the in-ear monitor, it's a bit like a lapel mic transmitter, but it's a receiver. So we send the sound to the receiver, and it goes into their ears. That could be the backing track, whatever they want to listen to. So they're in-ear monitors, predominantly for performers. I think if in our world of corporate stuff, they would have wedges so you could hear on the stage. So that's line of A, that's speakers. Lots to get through. I hope that's covered a few things already. Nearly at the end now, nearly at the end, how are we doing for time? We're doing all right, we're doing all right. So feedback, the biggest thing in our world. It's challenging. We have tools to get through it, but I'll just quickly show you an understanding of what feedback is and how we get rid of that. And again, if you've got your own sound system, it might help you understand a bit. So we now know you need a microphone into your mixing desk to modify the sound. It goes into your amplifier, and your amplifier goes into your speakers so you can hear. Feedback is when that amplified sound comes out of the speakers but goes back into the microphone. So if I show you this here with my PA system here, so as I'm talking into my microphone there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm far enough away from the speaker to not cause me a problem. But if that amplified sound comes back into my microphone, you get the dreaded squeal of feedback. So watch your ears. That's a real extreme version of feedback. So that's the sound coming out of the speakers into the microphone. Now, that is extreme, obviously, but let me just put that down a second. That shows you how that loop works, okay? Now, that was quite extreme, but what could happen is if I'm on a lapel mic here, and because we now understand that my lapel mic has a big pickup area, the nearer to that speaker I get, with it picking up all that sound, it's going to squeal into your speakers. So you've got to try and get your speakers away from your microphones. It's as crude as that. Or you have a microphone that's got a smaller pickup pattern. So rather than me having a lapel mic near that speaker, it's going to feed back. If I put a headset on that's got a smaller pickup pattern, you've got to get really, really close to that speaker. Likewise with a handheld mic right into your mouth with a smaller pickup pattern, it's not going to feed back. Now, that's an extreme, as I said, but what we find is on a show, we are sometimes restricted about where our speakers can go, but what we try and do, we try and get our speakers into the room away from the microphones. So if I'm on the stage here now presenting, I would not have a speaker behind me because that's picking up and that pickup pattern's going to go into the speaker. Get your speakers away from you, simple as that. And I have seen some events that are shocking, and you have like somebody on stage and the speakers are, and you think, well, you can't get the volume. You turn it up, and you turn it up, and it just feeds back. Get your speakers away. So your audience is over there. Get your speakers into the room so the people can hear, and you scatter your speakers throughout the room. So that's feedback. It is the pain of our lives. With our digital mixer, though, what I'll say is there's some clever technology in there, and during sound check and rehearsal times, we can try and make feedback, and we hear those individual squeals, and with technology in a digital mixer, it analyses the squeals and it can take them away. So that's why a digital mixer is the preferred choice of all sound people, because analog mixers, yes, you could have had an extra box and an extra box. Chuck that away, digital mixer now. So that's feedback, that's how it works. So that is our very quick overview of PA systems, sound system stuff. I know there's lots I've covered there, probably quite quickly. I don't know if there's any questions there at all. Somebody said I got a face for radio. That's very kind, thank you very much. Have you thought a job on the shopping channel? Thank you very much. Proper quality questions of our first session at the Spotlight Streaming Studio. I think it looks very good, nice haircut. Thank you very much, good. So, thank you for your comments, that's really helpful. We did have a question before the show, so let me just quickly show this question. So this is a question we had from an event manager was how many speakers per audience number. So if we had an audience of 150, 100 people, how many speakers? That's now quite hard to answer, as I said, because people, we have different, we would need to know the space in the room. We'd also, our different speakers have different throws. So we would know for 150 people, 2 of our full range speakers would probably be fine. But what I would say is if another scenario, all these speakers are out, we might have some of our smaller speakers. So our smaller speakers, we might have to put 6 speakers for that. So there's no one rule for how many speakers you need. I think if you want to invest in your own equipment, try and understand how powerful the speakers are, how powerful the amplifier is, and how far they throw, and the spread. So difficult to answer. I mean, as a ballpark figure, I would say if you had 200 people in a room, a reasonable size room, we probably have 4 of these speakers because we understand the throw patterns. But as another example, so we did an event it was at the Buxton Dome. There's a big dome in Buxton. I believe it's the biggest dome in Europe, I think, and they use it as an event space. And the acoustics in a dome are notoriously horrible, absolutely horrible. So you're talking and the sound reverberates around and bounces off the dome. It's horrendous. So if we were to go on with an audience of 200 people it was, with 4 normal speakers and throw the sound would get thrown around absolutely everywhere. So we chose to go on site with 14 smaller speakers. So with these speakers here, it wasn't these, it was a similar one. Rather than having 4 big speakers sending the sound out into the dome, it was just horrible. We had 14 smaller speakers scattered around at a lower level. So rather than lots of boomy sound, you spread the sound subtly, quietly throughout the dome area so people can see. So you maybe have 20 people who listen to that speaker rather than 100 people listen to that speaker. So there's no right or wrong with how many speakers, but I just hope we've given you a little bit of insight as to how that would work. What would be yeah, we're not answering that now. Bring on the magician. Great. Great. That's really helpful. Thank you, Jeff. It was Ashton Gate, Pete, you're right, that was Take That Ashton Gate, yeah. We weren't there, but hey, anyway. So that was Whistle Stop Tour on Event Audio. If you want to learn more about this, get in touch with us. If you want the slides, you're welcome to have them. This recording will be on our YouTube channel. We've got lots of videos appearing on our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing other events as well, other shows. We've got some guest presenters coming over the autumn. We've got motivational speakers. We've got event management we're talking about, social media. Anything you want to know, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. That's us. Thank you for joining us. We are iStead. This is our Spotlight streaming studio. More information on our website, isted.co.uk. And as I leave you now, here's a few highlights of what's to come in our Spotlight streaming studio, in our Spotlight sessions. Thank you and good night.